All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to make our pizza dough recipe that I'm going to send to you this afternoon in a little while. You can see I have my bowls. I have my measuring cup here, measuring spoon, salt, flour, sugar behind you over here, my tablespoon, and my yeast, which is something we're going to need. In the background right here, you can hear I have water running. I have to get 1 cup of water for this recipe. Water should be about room temperature or above. I always call it bath water, because I know it's not easy getting into a bathtub. So you're going to make this first, and then you're going to start working on the rest of your stuff. So you can see here, I have my 1 cup of water, okay? And the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of sugar. So you take your sugar, you're going to pour that into water. It calls for 2 1/4 teaspoons of salt. So here I have I have my 1 teaspoon here. So I take, 2 teaspoons of yeast. So I take my 2 teaspoons of yeast. There's 2. And it says for 1/4, so I'm just going to add a little bit. Now, if you ever buy yeast in the store, it comes in the little packets, and that actually is pre-measured out to be 2 1/4 teaspoons per package. Calls for 3 tablespoons of oil. So we're going to use our salad oil here in our squirt bottle. I'm going to pour in 1, 2, 3. And you're going to do this because you want to activate the yeast. When you do it with the sugar and the yeast start to talk to each other. They're friends. And it's going to sit there. We're just going to mix it all together so it's all kind of umpy and cloudy. And I know we've done this before in class, but I'm just trying to do some repeat stuff because we have a lot of kids who have just come back to school. And this is some stuff that they've asked for, which I'm going to send out the list of stuff we're going to do futuristically over the next few weeks. So we're going to let that settle over there just for a few minutes. The other part of the recipe is the dry ingredients. Okay, so remember, always stir your flour. Okay, so you want, it says 2 1/2, 2, 3 cups. So 2 1/2 or 3. We're going to start with the 2 1/2. So there's my 2 cups. And I'm going to add in my 1/2 cup because that's the original. And the reason is because depending on the moisture in the air, it could actually affect what's happening out there. And then we're going to take our 1 teaspoon for salt, and you're going to put your salt in with your pizza dough, the flour part, because the pizza dough, the salt can actually kill the yeast in a sense, and that's why we're going to let that bubble a little bit together. And then from there, we're just going to stir this around. I'm going to put some gloves on, and I do this with gloves. You don't have to do it with gloves, and you guys know that already, but this is going to be your first thing you do when you come to class. So make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you actually, hopefully, remember that we're going to do this week. And then we're going to go from there. So you make a well in the middle, okay? Make a well in the center. I'm going to kind of adjust my camera a little bit. You're making a well. Then you're going to take in your mixture. And you want to make sure you stir it as you pour it in because, again, we're going to have the dough and the yeast in the bottom. I want to make sure it all gets in there. You're going to pour that all in, and then we're going to start to mix by hand. Now, this is why I do the glove, is it just makes it a little easier combining everything together. And you're going to see that this happens pretty quickly. Okay, so I'll just keep moving around. Good sized bowl, so make sure you have a good sized bowl. We do have machines we can use for this, but I'm not really going to worry about that. And I can see, and again, from my ears, it's still kind of sticky. But you want to make sure you knead it. You want to make sure, and you can knead right in the bowl. You don't have to necessarily knead on the counter, but you can see it's still too sticky for me. It's kind of warm in the school lately, even though they do have the air conditioning on. Culinary is not that one. I'm going to sprinkle in maybe a 1/4 cup more. Okay? You don't always have to add all of it. We're going to add that in there. Again, you can see I'm just moving the bowl around. Okay, move my hands, glove on there and everything. I can feel the dough that's coming together much nicer. And we're going to just try to incorporate that by squeezing and kneading, rolling it over, folding it through. And I'm going to call that a nice dough. And then I'm going to fold it into each other like this. You keep folding it in to make sure it's all the way through kneaded. And if it feels a little sticky still, which just a touch, maybe 2 and almost 3 cups. But I'm going to stick to the 2 3/4 cups on that measure now. We're just going to let it go. Now, just about 5 minutes, and you see, then you're going to let this dough rest for about 15 minutes before we work with it again. So you're going to take it like this, leave it in the bowl, and then we're going to take a towel or a paper towel or plastic wrap or something else and just cover the top, which I'm going to show you right now, just so that way you can see a completed project. Take a piece of plastic wrap right here, carefully. You're going to cover that. You're going to leave it on your station for 15 to 20 minutes or so. It should start to rise, get softer. Now, ideally, that's going to be your pizza dough recipe. And I'm going to send you the recipe and this video, as well as what we're going to do for the next few weeks. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. It's Wednesday. I've been cleaning, organizing, trying to, and that's where we're going to stop it. Please make sure you reply to the questions so I know that you've done the video. Number 79.